The next thing we need to do is to add some details on our holster. Go and select our holster, Shift H to isolate it. Now, in order for this to not melt down when we add the multi-resolution, we need to make sure that we have some extra edge loops on the borders, on the edges here, so it will retain its shape. Because right now, if I go ahead and if I go add a multi-resolution, right, and I subdivide this, you can see that it's starting to change the shape on the edges here, and I want to keep it sharp. It's not bad, but I think it could be better. I'm going to remove the multi-resolution, hit the tab key, and I'm going to go ahead and Control R and add an edge loop around here and also here. And so it did it also on the other side, which is great. Okay, and maybe, yeah, I think that's all that we need there. And let me look on the other side. I'm also going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go ahead and add one right there and one right here. And we got to do it for all the straps. I'm going to go and select this. Press that on my numpad. Just going to zoom in. Alright, and Control R. And one here and one there. We're supposed to do it on the other side all around. Great. And also here. And here. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side. I'm going to press down my numpad to zoom into this mesh. Control R. And one right there. Here. Okay. And I think this is it for this. So, yeah. Now, if we go back to object mode and add a multi-resolution, this should be better. It shouldn't melt down as much. And I'm going to go ahead and subdivide this 3 times. 3. Alright, great. And I'm going to go to scope mode. And I'm going to go to my tool here. This is very important. When we scope on something, a mesh that's very thin like this, we don't want to add any details at the back here. So we want to only, when we're sculpting, we only want to affect whatever we're seeing, okay, which is basically the front faces here. So in order for us to prevent from sculpting for what's not visible on our eye, we have to go to our brush settings here, and you're going to see front faces only under the brush settings, front faces, turn that on. So I know I'm going to be using the sculpting brush for this, and we have to make sure we remove the texture, exit that out, and I'm going to set the angle to 0 and size X to 1. And mapping, set it back to tile. Basically, just set it back to default and set it to space. And another brush that I'm going to be using is the smooth brush. So I want to make sure I turn on front faces only. Alright. And any other brush that you're planning to use here, make sure that you turn on front faces only. Okay? Since this is a very thin mesh, you don't want it to affect the other side. So I'm going to go back to my sculpt draw, turn on my symmetry. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring down my intensity. Sculpt here a few times and then crank it up. Alright, so most of the details that I'm going to be adding is just going to be very subtle details. Just a depression around the areas where I know I'm going to be adding some stitches. I know I'm going to be adding some stitches here in Blender. In Substance Painter, I'm going to be adding some stitches there. So I want to add a little bit of depth. I'm going to go back to I'm going to turn my smoothing on, smooth that, crank up my intensity for my smoothing, and back onto my sculpt draw. And I think I could turn on my stabilize stroke for this. And it's just going to go ahead and go all around and add a little detail here. all around. And I think my smoothing is too much, the intensity. I'm going to bring it down. Back to my sculpt draw brush, smooth it. And I'm going to bring down my intensity. Let it come down. My intensity for my smoothing is still too much. There you go. And also around here. So just making sure things are not too flat. We want to make it look as realistic as possible. So if you just leave it as it is, yeah, it's not going to look as good. So adding something of a depression, this type of detail, adds more to our realism. Okay, and I'm gonna go here, do the same thing, push that in, all around. And also here, just coming all around like this. And just like every detail that we add, this is also going to be a good reference for us to think about when where we're going to add our stitches later on in Substance Painter. So, and I think I could probably use another subdivision. I'm going to subdivide it. Okay, and go back to sculpt mode. And just kind of smooth this out. Going back here, push this in, bringing down my brush size. Also here, all around, coming around like this. Go. Okay, and also here. Alright, now I want to add a little depth here. I'm going to go to my draw sharp, and I'm going to make sure that I turn on front faces only. And I want to turn on my stabilized stroke for this one. And I'm going to go set the studio and just push this in. That. Also here, it's coming around like this. Go, much better. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my stabilized stroke. And also I'm gonna go to this area here. And let's go ahead and carve this in. I'm not too concerned about the back part because it's not showing, but I'm gonna go at the bottom part, turn on my stabilized stroke, carve this in. This. Go. And go ahead and carve this in and all the way right this. Also on this side, all the way. Carve it in. all around. There you go. Alright, so it looks like there's more of a separation, and I think I'm gonna go over here again just to make it more intense, the separation, make it a bit more noticeable. There you go. Alright, and I'm gonna go back to my regular draw brush, and I'm gonna go do this part of our strap. I'm just gonna go all around here, push that in, smooth it all the way in like this, all the way like that. Looks so much better. You see how it's not just flat, but there's some details to it. Going all around. Okay, cool. And I think here is a little too wide, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out and smooth it. And push it in. That. And you know what? I'm gonna go turn on my matte cap. You can see it better. Yeah, so same thing, just gonna go all around. Like this, and smooth, and all the way over here. That's very basic. Folds here. That does a lot. It might not be a lot right now, but believe me, as you add this, put this in Substance Painter and you create the stitches, you'll see that it will make a huge difference. Subtle details like this could definitely add more spice to your meshes. All around, there you go, around like this. Great. And I could do the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and push this in. And same here, I'm gonna go all around. Just push this in. There you go. All around. Even here. In here. Just push it. I'm gonna go ahead and crank up my stabilized stroke to 90. As I start to draw straighter and straighter lines, it's best to have a higher stroke value. Great. And I want to take a look, revisit this area. I'm gonna go and just gonna push this in, smooth it. Alright, I'm gonna go and turn off my stabilized stroke. And maybe add a very subtle depression here. This is made out of leather, and for the most part it's pretty stiff, but adding a little bit of folds here and there would definitely add to the believability of this. Okay, and it looks like when you add some depressions here, it's gonna look more like it's it's not a new leather. It actually looks like it's been worn out. Because even though this is a holster, you could think of the times that maybe the character is going to be placing the holster somewhere. It's not going to just stay in one place. So yeah, he might be wearing it, and maybe there are going to be times where he's going to place it down somewhere, and then it's going to be folded or curled, and then you're going to see some subtle folds and wrinkles, some dents on this. It's not perfect. And this is the thing about creating stuff for video games. You could kind of get a little crazy, a little bit more exaggerated with the wear and tear of the items that you're doing. If you're working for the architectural industry, most of the stuff that you do there is basically clean. They want it more clean. But as far as for video games, you could add a little bit more personality to it, like some story to it. You know? So something like that. Okay, so that's going to be it for this. I'm going to go back to object mode, show everything, and you could also do this part here also, and also this. Actually, let me go ahead and do these first. I feel like this is part of that. So Shift H, hit the tab key, and I'm gonna go add an edge loop here so it doesn't melt down. Actually, there you go. There you go. And press down my numpad. I'm gonna add another one right here and one right here. Perfect. And I could do the same thing on this side. Edge loop right there. Edge loop right here. Then could add one right here and right here. And yep. Now I could go back here, and of course we could add the multi-resolution and subdivide that. You know what, let me see. Yeah, maybe I could add a extra edge loop right here so it doesn't really melt down there. And that's fine. And I think I could also add another edge loop right here. I think this part might be fine. It has the edge loop close to it. But yeah, let's see. I'm gonna go ahead, subdivision, multi-resolution, subdivide it, divide it. I think I had it 4 times on the other one. Yeah, I'll subdivide it 4 times. Let me double check. Yeah, this one's subdivided 4 times, so I just want to keep it consistent. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to scope mode. And I'm gonna go and turn on my stabilize stroke. This time I don't need to have symmetry turn on because we only have it on this side, right? Also here, just gonna push this in. Gonna smooth that out. Have it all around like this, and like that. And I'm gonna go turn off my stabilize stroke and push some of this stuff in, just to add some worn out, like it's been used. Okay, and I'm gonna go to this one and add a multi-resolution. Subdivide this. I'm gonna do it up to 4 times. Go to scope mode, And I'm going to go ahead and turn on my stabilize stroke. Push this in. Also here. Smooth that out. Gonna blend it in. And I'm gonna go and push this in. That. And then I'm gonna go all around. All the way up. And down. And smooth it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and push. And here, I'm gonna go and do the same thing, just push this in. Maybe this part won't show as much, the back part, but it's good to have it there just in case some parts of it do show. But I'm just not gonna spend as much time as I would as the ones that are showing to the camera. And once again, it's always good to just kind of smooth it. And I'm gonna go turn off my stabilize stroke and just add a few details here and there. Some roughness on the surface so it doesn't look so flat. Same here. Get rid of that flat look. Okay, I'm gonna go to this here and go to scope mode. There you go. Alright, so minor details, just like that. And show everything. And yeah, I think we did this part. Yep. And this one we gotta do. And also this one we gotta do. Shift H.